Thanks for listening to the Swearing In podcast, where you'll hear the origin stories of those who chose to serve. So ground your gear, take a seat, and listen up. The Swearing In podcast starts right now.
Welcome. I am Marty Smith, and this is the Swearing In podcast. My guest today is Army Brigadier General retired Chris Petty. He attended Heritage High School in Littleton, Colorado, and graduated in 1983. He earned an appointment to the United States Military Academy, and in 1986 he attended and successfully completed Ranger School. He graduated West Point in 1987 and received a commission as a second lieutenant in aviation. He attended officer basic course at Fort Rucker, Alabama, and in 1988, he was assigned to the National Training Center at Fort Irwin, California. General Petty left active duty in 1991 and joined the Colorado Army National Guard. So that concludes your pre-brief. Now, let's get on with the interview. My guest today is Brigadier General retired Chris Petty. Sir, thanks for joining the podcast, and thanks for giving me your time and your story.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Marty.
Sir, where did you grow up?
My father was an Army officer, so when he got off active duty, he went to grad school in Illinois, so I was born in Germany.
Oh, really?
As an Army brat, but I only spent a few years there. And then he went to Illinois for graduate school. So we moved there. I don't have a lot of memories of that. It was pretty small. And then he got out of the Army and became an engineer at Owens, Illinois, his old firm, still around. They do different stuff now, in Ohio. So I grew up kind of as a child in Ohio. But yeah, my father always had a dream to move to Colorado. We used to come in a van out to Colorado on vacations every year for like 10 days in the summer. It was awesome. As a kid, could you imagine your 10-year-old self going, we're going to the mountains, we're going to go backpacking and camping.
That's right.
Above Aspen, when Aspen was a small town.
When you could afford to go skiing.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And that actually made real impressions on all of us kids. But so I interviewed for jobs out in Colorado, and I moved to Colorado when I was 13 years old.
What did your father do in the Army?
He was an engineer, combat engineer. West Point graduate. So, but the interesting thing is this is 1962. So he's teaching nuclear demolitions in Oberammergau, Germany.
Wow.
Yeah, the NATO had a class in Oberammergau. I think it was NATO ran it. Yeah, it was a NATO school, and it was literally, how do we blow up bridges with nuclear weapons? That's where we were in 1962.
Right.
So that's the school. That's where he taught.
Well, I remember reading about the Northern Line. What the idea was, I think this was in the 50s, that we would send bombers, and they would launch basically nukes at the incoming nukes that were coming over the poles. That was one of the plans, and I was like, "Sorry, Canada," but
yeah,
I guess so. Yeah, we didn't really have a big idea of what we were doing.
Yeah, it was an interesting time.
But you came out, so did you go to school out here in Colorado?
I did. Went to Heritage High School, a local school in Littleton, Colorado. Yeah. Yep. And it was great. Great school. Really enjoyed it.
What was your plan after high school?
By the time I was rising junior, I guess they say now, rising junior, I was pretty committed. I was going.
Oh, okay.
I was going to West Point.
Yeah.
I mean, I did things to make sure that my packet was going to be competitive to get into West Point. Like,
sports.
Hey, Dad, I need to volunteer to be an usher at church.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, of course, sports. Yeah. I was always big into sports. So yeah, I mean, I was recruited to play football. And,
oh, yeah?
Yeah, so that always helps a little bit. But yeah, I was going to West Point.
And you have to start, that's a year and a half, 2 years out? At least a year?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to get the Congressman
you
or
get
senator?
your congressional nomination,
congressman,
any
yeah.
congressman. So
Okay.
senator or Congress, any
Okay.
member of Congress. They have a certain set aside number that can be at the academy at any one time.
That's competitive.
Yeah, so you have to do the interviews for that, and then of course the admissions office, pretty steep qualifications, ACT, SAT scores.
Right.
So yeah, it's a journey. You got to want it.
When did you find out you got in?
I got admitted early, so it was like December of my senior
Oh, you
year of
did?
high school.
Wow.
Yeah, which was really cool because
Yeah.
it took some of the pressure off.
Yeah.
And threw a nice party for my classmates at.
Did your
Harris.
parents know before you?
No, they sent me the letter, and
They didn't
yeah.
open it?
No,
Wow.
we opened it together. And
Okay.
Yeah, it was nice. They sent a nice certificate and everything. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it was exciting for a young 18. I guess I was 18. I might have been 17. But that's exciting. That's a life-changing letter.
Absolutely.
You know
Absolutely.
you're going to go to West Point. It's one of the greatest schools in the country, and you are going to be an Army officer. That's a life-changing letter.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
And that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like, do I really want all that?
Yeah, it's a lot. But I was convinced. I mean, I knew. So it was just 100% greatness of getting this letter.
So you graduate what year?
1987.
When did you first go out to West Point then?
I went on a football recruiting trip first.
Oh,
So
really?
this
They
was-
wanted you to play for the team?
Yeah, they did. So they brought me out there to meet with the coaches, see the team, get stars in my eyes, with the studs on the field and practice and the facilities and all that stuff. Typical college football recruiting kind of thing. West Point does it just like everyone else. And it was awesome. I was sold. Of course, I was sold anyway. Football was just a leg up for me.
What'd you play?
Something exciting. I was a tailback, a running back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, it was wonderful. So I went to West Point in the second half of my junior year, or the very first part of my senior year as a football recruit.
Oh, okay.
So I
you
met
visited,
them.
yeah.
They chaperoned me around, showed me a few things, and then I flew home. I mean, it wasn't a big
So
deal.
was all that trip, did they just keep saying, well, this is pending you get in?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they don't bring people who don't get in to play football.
No, it's all pending. It's all contingent on you being accepted by the admissions office.
Yeah.
But they want you to, commit.
So that's the nicest they're ever going to be to you.
Yeah.
Is
the
during
nicest-
that time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You actually think you're pretty special till you get there.
Describe that to me. How was your arrival at West Point?
Okay. So, it's called our day for reception day. And it's famous in West Point lore for, a couple hundred years. Our day is when the plebes officially, and the plebes are freshmen, officially enter the academy as new cadets. You're not even a cadet yet.
Oh.
You're a new cadet.
Oh,
You're below the rank of cadet, and they make sure you know it. And it is just the most stressful, discombobulating time of your life because you think, think about this, Marty. All these new plebes, these new cadets are coming knowing this is going to be stressful, knowing that Beast Barracks, as it's called, the summer program is called Beast Barracks, which is kind of like a basic training combined with a, West Point thing and all this, but it's really demanding stuff. And so you get there and it's going to be tough. You literally get off the buses and you're starting to get hazed and yelled at just belittled and not like cussed at. It's all professional.
Right.
It's supposed to be stressful, and the upperclassmen are creating stress. Right. So there's a purpose to it and all that, but it is stressful. And you are forgetting
Is it all
things.
run by the upperclassmen?
All run by the upperclassmen. There's always real Army officers in the background.
Yeah.
There has to be, right? But it's all run by the Corps cadets, the whole thing. Squad leaders, report here, do this. So here, sign this out. Here's your equipment. Go here. And it's like a uniform drill. You're changing uniforms. You're doing all this. You're walking around with bags on your back from one issue point to the next issue point. You can't be late because
you have no chance to succeed.
Oh, no chance to succeed. So it's really stressful.
Yeah.
And of course, you're in the June hot sun of upstate New York.
God, yeah.
So it's humid. You're sweating. Right. It's just miserable. But it's very memorable. Very memorable. The one thing that every class from 1802 on probably at West Point will tell you is, report to the man in the red sash. At the cadet. It's now report to the cadet in the red sash. because obviously some of them are females now. And it's your first time you report. And you salute. Of course, your salute's going to be terrible because you're brand new. You don't even know how to do a real good salute. And it's like your only 4 responses are, yes, sir, no, excuse, sir, and sir, I do not understand. It's the only 4 things you're allowed to say. Like, I would say, at least for that day, but pretty much for your entire plebe year.
Right.
I mean, not quite, but that day, that's all you can say.
Okay.
If you say anything else, you are going to get laid into in a big way.
Sure.
And it's just really stressful. And it even today, it's pretty stressful.
Do you have one indelible story from that time? I mean, you have many. I'm sure.
I have many. I don't have one.
Okay.
You know, everybody has their report to the red cadet and the red sash story, which was really just what I told you, which is it's stressful and you can't do anything right. You feel like you're just fumbling and you're an idiot. But what I was going to say is, imagine all these brand new freshmen that were in the top of their class.
That's interesting. Yeah.
They were the top 5% of their classes in all the high schools throughout the country. They were athletes. They were team captains. They were the best of the best in these high schools across America. And now you are the lowest of the low. And it's kind of, I'll be honest with you, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
You know, you're used to being big man on campus.
That's true.
For a couple of years in high school, you were, the varsity football guy. You had the girls, life was good. Now you are scum of the earth.
I can see
it's hard.
If you don't take that humility lesson.
Yeah.
And you get angry at it.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably going to doom you.
It is a dose of humility that we all need, I needed it.
Right.
We all needed it.
Right.
They break you down, again, I would say professionally, because I understand the logic of it all. They break you down.
Yeah.
So you're not above anybody else. You're not better than anyone else.
Right.
You're part of a team.
Right.
And then you have to build that team and move on.
How long after our day did your classes start? Were you there like a week or a month?
Well, there's always some classes distributed with your field training.
Oh, of course.
You know this,
yeah, sure.
but that's not your question. Beast Barracks lasts for roughly 2 months.
Oh,
roughly 2 months, and it's all PT, field training, basic soldier stuff.
Yeah.
How do you march? How do you move in the woods as a squad, as a team?
Oh, wow.
How do you shoot?
That's soon. Huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all happening within 2 months.
Yeah.
You're qualifying your weapon. You're learning basic soldier skills. Lots of basic skills.
Wow.
First aid.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's like a really compressed basic training.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great, but you are busy from 6 o'clock 5:30 in the morning till 10 at night. You're busy.
No talking in the chow hall, stuff like that.
Nope.
If you're talking, you're not eating.
Yeah, you're a scum of the earth. You have no privileges.
Wow, really?
No rights and no privileges. Yeah, you can't.
Wow.
You have to walk a certain way. You have to eat a certain way.
Yeah.
It's very regimented for a good reason, but it's frustrating.
One of the things that amazed me going into the Army, into the airborne, was this: everybody from all over the country jammed together. And so all your little mores and habits and stuff, they're all different.
Yeah.
And the way people talk, the way people deal with each other. And you've put that in the spinner on Beast Week or Beast Month or Jeez. And you're all trying to succeed.
Right. And it's always a competition. Everything's
always
a competition.
Right.
Your rank in the class, how you do in the obviously physical training.
Yeah.
It's everything's being evaluated. I mean, it's not like it matters if you're number 1 or number 20 necessarily, but it's always a competition. You know the thing.
Your mind can kill you that way.
Yeah. So yeah, it's fantastic though, merging all those individuals and from those broad backgrounds. And that's why even in the modern era of, everyone's complaining about diversity, equity, inclusion and what it's doing to the military. The fact is the military is so great, has always been great about throwing all this diversity together and just making one team.
That's what people don't realize.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the military's been so great about that.
I agree.
It's what you're talking about.
What, you got so many highlights. You're so busy in that 4 years. Right?
Yeah. So busy.
You went to jump school
Yeah.
in the summer of your...
So cadets get to do summer programs.
Right.
And I mean, the most I ever had off in the summer as a college student, just so you know, Marty, is 2 weeks.
Oh,
My
geez.
longest college vacation in the summer was 2 weeks. The rest of it was I'm at West Point doing training because you have to do training programs in the summer. You have to run the cadre of the training programs for the underclassmen.
Oh, geez.
Or you're out in the Army doing a school.
Right.
So
Right.
that's your summer as a college kid.
Do you have something between your junior and senior year, like an assessment thing?
Yes, there is a, and this actually is new since I've been there, but there's a program they instituted back in like 2012 or somewhere around there, and it's almost like a mini ranger school, and you have to pass it to graduate. So it's pretty challenging.
Jeez.
It's patrols.
Yeah.
You know the basic formula of ranger school. And speaking of ranger school, I went to airborne school after my plebe year, freshman year, but I got to compete for a slot to ranger school.
No kidding.
In my junior year to go between my junior and senior year.
Wow.
There was only 10 of us that got selected and about 110 applied. So you can imagine, of all these West Pointers, they finally opened up a ranger school slot again because they stopped it for like 12 years because no West Pointers were going to fail. And they were starting to fail out of ranger school, which of course, ranger school, that's pretty typical, right? But not West Pointers. So it was like, we're done. We're not doing ranger school.
Yeah.
So one of the 06s that taught in, one of the departments was a big HUA infantry ranger guy, and he brought it back.
Huh.
So the competition to go was demanding, the most demanding physical competition I've ever had.
Yeah.
To prepare to go to ranger school.
Yeah.
And of course, I went to ranger school as a cadet with 10 of us. 9 of us graduated. The only one that didn't got physically injured.
Oh, you got hurt. Yeah.
So it was 100% success for
That's
West
great.
Point.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you guys probably actually prepared more than guys from the line units who are going to go out there.
I mean, there's some units that like the Ranger battalions have a really good pre-Ranger training.
Oh, sure.
The 82nd Airborne has a really nice pre-Ranger training program, but nobody was topping the West Point pre-Ranger training.
Well, yeah. I mean, because you got more on the line,
Yeah,
actually.
that's right. It was the reputation.
You
of
got the
academy.
school's reputation.
Yeah, exactly. And it was on 10 guys' shoulders.
Did you go as all 10 as a squad going through Ranger School, or were you?
No, they
filtered in?
Yeah, they just starburst us as soon as we got there.
Did you find any? I mean, I know you take all rank off and all that stuff, right? But people had to know you're a cadet.
Yeah, they did. But it wasn't so much that you were a West Point cadet. You were just a cadet.
Was there any animosity that you felt?
I didn't.
Other than normal?
I didn't because, Ranger School. Because,
they're all trying to graduate.
Yeah, because of that, what you said, there's no rank, per se in Ranger School. You don't wear your rank. It's all, you're just part of the team, part of the squad.
Did you go? Did they still do the peer out? I think it was 2 times from what I heard.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So,
but the difficult part was just the patrols. I mean, it's hard.
Well, you're tired.
Yeah, you're tired. You're hungry. Everyone's frustrated.
Yeah.
You've been moving for 4 days, 5 days. You got to eat maybe once a day if you're lucky, and you just wear out.
Yeah.
Your patience wears out. And sometimes, you feel for the guy who just happens to get selected as the patrol leader. Yeah. Because morale's at an all-time low. Everybody's like dead, and he gets the evaluation. Okay, we're going to move another 5 kilometers at night, and we're going to hit that ambush on this road. And, you just feel for the guy. And sometimes that guy's you.
Yeah, right.
It's like, okay, guys, let's go.
It's interesting. It's so mentally stressful, but it's such a great lesson.
Yeah.
Because you never know when it's going to come.
It's humbling. Again, lessons in humility. I think old soldiers are the most humble people in the universe because of these things we've just talked about.
Yeah, I agree.
They're all lessons in humility.
Right. Yeah. I had a good friend. His name was Ed Wallace. He was my year group, 89, 90, I think. He was telling us about going to Ranger School. I think he went right after he graduated from West Point.
Yeah.
Or somewhere close to that. And he said he gets so tired. He remembers a guy at a tree trying to put coins in because he thought it was a vending machine.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Because you're awake for so long.
Yeah, you do actually start to hallucinate.
Wow.
Hallucinate. Yeah.
Wow.
I remember it too. I fell asleep once on you get up to a road junction. You know this, but your listeners don't. you get up to a road, and there's a specific procedure for a dismounted unit to cross a road, depending on the size of the unit. In this case, you're a platoon. So you send out your security on both sides of the road.
Right.
And then you cross with a small security team to the other side of the road and post your security on either end of the road, right? To give early warning and some level of security. And then the patrol is passing through. Well, I was one of these guys on the near side road, security, right or left, I don't remember.
And you're the last to go across.
Yeah, I'm the last to go across, and I fell asleep. I mean, just in that span of time.
Yeah.
Because, it's 2:00 in the morning or whatever. You've been moving for 2 days. You haven't really slept, maybe 2 hours, maybe 2 hours the night before. And so I just laid down, and literally, as soon as I was in the prone position with my, M16 at the time, I'm just gone. I'm out. So the whole patrol moves on out. It's pitch black.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I wake up in what feels like, to me, the spaz, young cadet. I'm like, oh my God, how long have I been asleep?
Oh,
there's nobody here.
Nobody is.
It's all quiet. I'm alone in the woods, right?
Right.
So it's scary as hell. I think I've been left behind. I'm like, I'm going to get screwed. I'm going to fail Ranger school.
Yeah.
Turns out they were looking for me. They sent someone back. They figured it out. But to me, it felt like I'd lost 2 hours.
Right.
I was asleep for like 5 minutes. 5 minutes had
And you
passed.
have all that.
But in my mind,
gotta accomplish.
yeah. So that was my little hallucination. Like
I
I'm
can
going to
feel
sleep
it.
for 5
Yeah,
hours.
I can feel it.
It's like 2-3 minutes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's just weird.
Wow, to stand up there and get tabbed. How was it getting tabbed? What was
One of the proudest things I've done.
Wow.
Because you earned that one.
Yeah.
You earned that one.
Yeah, there's no.
No.
I mean, you can limp your way through airborne school, but you can't.
Yeah.
You can't through
You
Ranger
can't.
school.
Yeah,
right?
you earned that one. I'm always proud of that one.
They didn't let your Ranger roll your head, did they? When you got back to school.
No. No, but I wore a Ranger tab as a cadet, which, by the time you're a senior, you wear a Ranger tab as a cadet. That's
badass.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt good about that too.
And you played football this whole time?
No, I played as a freshman.
Okay.
I was, when I got to Division I football, and yes, West Point's Division I college football.
Yeah.
I thought I could do it. I really wanted to be a great football player.
Heritage was a big school.
Yeah, it was a big school.
Right?
Yeah, we did well. It was fun. It was a great program. And so I thought I was competitive. And obviously the coaches thought I was competitive. But I played JV stuff my freshman year.
Sure.
And I tell you, as a full-time cadet student, getting back to my barracks room, at 5:00 at night, seeing stars, because I got my bell rang all day long because I'm a running back. So I'm now the practice squad for the first team starting linebackers.
Yeah.
I'm just getting my bell rung. Bing,
Reps.
ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding. So by the time I'm back in my barracks, I'm trying to study now.
Yeah.
And then remember, this is every night for most of the year, not just football season. I'm just thinking to myself, okay, I'm not sure this is going to work. I'm not sure I'm going to go to this next level. I mean, I got invited back to play my sophomore year. I made the cut.
Yeah.
But I went back. I went to the coach, and it was Jim Young at the time, who really made a name for himself. Good college coach. And I said, "Hey, coach, I just got something to tell you. I don't think I'm going to be your starting tailback." It was it was an I formation, so it was tailback stuff. And he goes, "No, Chris, I understand. You've given us, more than we asked for. You're a hardworking guy. I appreciate what you've done." He was so graceful about it. And, and then I went and played rugby for my next 3 years.
Oh, did you?
Which was physically demanding, but not the same.
It was club,
Not
right?
the same. Yeah.
Do you think if you'd have stayed in football that you could have made it through Ranger school? That would you have had enough time to train?
I don't think so.
To get through Ranger school?
No, that's a great point. I wouldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it.
Because football took so much of your time.
Yep. And I'll tell you frankly, all of my weekends for my junior year, first half of my junior year, don't quote me exactly, they were all taken.
Oh yeah.
They were all,
yeah.
I mean, I'm ruck marching, running with my 40-pound rucksack up and down the hills of West Point.
Sure.
In those Army black boots, which really I could trace to some of my spine problems now, actually. Yeah. But, at the time it didn't matter. But I was committed.
Yeah.
I mean, every weekend was pre-ranger training, basically.
And I think you probably had to do that to pass it.
Yeah.
You know?
To make the cut.
Golly.
I had to do it to make the cut.
Oh, that's right.
Just to be one of those
To
10.
compete.
Just to compete.
Golly.
Yeah. It was a tough time, but I was young. I was young. I was strong.
Yeah.
You know the feeling when you're 20 years old.
Yeah, true.
It's
I know it's weird. We look back at that time now. It's like, ooh, that's a lot of time.
Ooh, I couldn't do that now. No way.
Hurts my knees just thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
How'd your commissioning go?
Fantastic. My father was there, who was a grad, and
I've seen it once.
and a good man, and I was just so proud. He commissioned me. Did the first salutes and all that stuff. It was just wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful tradition.
Who was your first salute to?
I should remember that, but I don't. There was just so much going on that day.
Oh yeah, because you're going from one. You're happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's make sure you go here, make sure you go there.
Yeah, and it might have been a random guy because one of the things, and I don't mean that disparagingly, but one of the traditions is whoever you salute first,
$silver.
Yeah, you give them a silver dollar. So a lot of people are running around trying to get silver dollars.
Oh, so
it might have been a random guy that I had to salute.
Oh, no kidding.
Because he's an NCO or an enlisted soldier or whatnot.
He's making money.
I have to salute him, right?
Yeah.
That's the protocol.
Oh,
so it's probably that, actually.
There's some clever E7s out there. Right?
It's all good. But it was a great day. There's so much going on. You got visitors, you got family, you got friends, you have parties. It's so some of it's a blur, quite honestly.
What'd you get branched as?
This is an interesting story. Because of Ranger School, strange twist of fate. Yeah, because of Ranger School.
They want some payback for that Ranger School.
Well, they did. So I went aviation.
Oh,
yeah,
that makes sense.
Much to the chagrin of Tex Turner, who was the guy that brought Ranger School.
How does West Point work? Because I know ROTC. After West Point was assessed, then ROTC would get assessed. Okay. That's why we had our big long list.
Okay.
Did you guys have a list to make?
Yeah. There's it's all competitive, obviously. So there's only certain amounts of quotas for each branch.
Yeah, of course.
Whether it's infantry, armor, aviation, cyber now. Cyber has a branch, all this stuff. And so if you want your top selection, you have to be top of the order merit list. Now, they've changed it a little now. In my day, it was strictly class rank. Like I graduated like roughly, and I really don't know exactly, so I'm going to swag it. I graduated like 145 out of 1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
pretty good.
So I could get anything I wanted. Yeah. And I knew that was important. So, I worked for it. So I got aviation. I wanted aviation. I got aviation.
That's awesome.
The funny thing about tying it to Ranger School is my story is I remember it vividly too, because, again, I'm 20 years old, roughly. I'm in Ranger School. I'm feeling pretty worn down, pretty beat up. It's tough. It's grueling. I mean, I figured I was going to graduate. I wasn't like totally worried about graduating, but I'm thinking to myself, man, these Army captains that are around here kind of helping run things with the NCOs, they look like they're 60 years old. They look old. I mean, tough, grizzled guys, but they're captains.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not sure I want to do this. What I've just been doing for 8 weeks, 9 weeks, I'm not sure I want to do this for a career. Because that's what I was thinking. I'm going to be in a Ranger battalion.
It's funny. We thought the same thing because we talked to guys who were trying to go. And I said, maybe at that time, maybe I had a chance to try to get through, but not to do the job.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah.
Because everything I was preparing for is like, that's how they warm up. It's that kind of thing. I was like, ugh.
And I really thought going into it, like I was going to be the next, infantry general,
Sure.
I mean, I'm obviously not think I'm going to be a general as a cadet. You should have your head examined if you are. But my point was I was going to be a hard charging.
Yeah, you got
Army
Schwarzkopf
officer,
out there.
Infantry.
Look how good he looked.
Yeah, right. I mean, airborne Ranger before I even graduate from West Point. So I'm going hard. But in Ranger School itself, I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I really don't want to do. I don't know that my body can do this for 20 plus years.
Sure, it's a young man's game. That's for sure.
And meantime, we're getting picked up at some of these missions by these cool Blackhawks. They come in and they swoop us up. We've been walking all night long to go as far as these guys take us in like 5 minutes. And I'm thinking, and these pilots smell like soap, which is cool. And they look like they're pretty well fed. So I'm thinking, I'm going to be an aviator. That's actually how it happened.
God, that is awesome.
I'm not kidding. It was in Ranger School. It's like, these guys smell like soap. This is cool. Yeah. It's a lot of work to move 10 kilometers at night when the helicopters can take you in like 3 minutes. Yeah.
Besides being I wanted to be a tanker because I was like, how badass could that be?
Yeah.
But then you're a target of everything on the battlefield.
Yeah.
I didn't have the eyes to be an aviator. A friend of mine became an aviator, and I was like, that's got to be the coolest job.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
So when are you off to Fort Rucker?
So I'm off to Fort Rucker. So graduation week, activities, graduation ceremony. Then
And this was
this is literally May 27th of 1987. Like that's graduation day.
okay.
I'll always remember that date, of course. So then we actually got, I think I got 3 weeks off, which was huge. 3 weeks off. You're shipping your Foot Lockers to Fort Rucker.
Right.
You're doing all this stuff because you got to go to your basic officer course, whatever branch. Mine was clearly going to be at Fort Rucker. And you get to go home for 3 weeks, visit with your family, pack up the stuff you need from home.
Yeah.
Because, you're
So
basically
it's 3
leaving.
weeks of no scheduled stuff.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks
but you're
of...
still really doing
Yeah, but you're also reconnecting with your old buddies and kind of like saying goodbye to your family because you're really going out in the Army. This is like, okay, I'm done with school, if you want to call it that. I'm going out in the Army.
Now you got the Army.
Now it's a real life.
Yeah.
So I'm at Fort Rucker in the summer and I'm going through the aviation officer basic course. I forget how long that lasted, a couple of months. And then you're going into flight school right away. And then there's breaks in flight school based on what aircraft you decide to fly and all that stuff. And flight school ends up being, it's a year long after OBC, your basic course. Now it's like, in some cases, like 2 years long because there's wait times that have built up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm glad that wasn't me, but it was about a year. Flight school was about a year long.
When did you decide on the, what do they call it? Airframe?
The airframe. I don't remember exactly.
Come on, Ranger. I know you weren't picking the Chinook.
No,
right?
no. But I tell you what, now that I have flown the Chinook, I have literally flown the Chinook in Iraq. It's awesome.
Really?
I might have reconsidered if I knew what I knew then what I know now. Yeah, it's an amazing machine, and it's really surprisingly sporty.
Really?
You wouldn't think so, but with all that power,
you get two big engines.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the Chinook. But anyway, I wanted to fly. At the time, it was Hueys. Yeah. Remember, I'm an old guy like you. Yeah. At the time, it was Hueys. Blackhawks were just coming off the production line. Like they weren't even in the they weren't even in the 101st at this point. You know, so we're that was a utility track. So in flight school, and I forget exactly when, and it's changed over the years too. So there you branch utility, attack, or scout. This is back in my day. Yeah. And so if you're scouts, you go into the old OH-58. Yeah. If you're utility, you go into Huey. And if you're attack, you go into the Cobra. It was the Cobra. The Cobra. Still, yeah. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Now, obviously, that's changed now. And they've merged some of that stuff together. But I wanted to be a utility guy, and primarily because even though the Apaches now, and most of these guys knew they were going to convert to Apaches, because the Apaches were like the Blackhawk. They were coming on into the force. So everyone knew, okay, I'm going to fly Cobras, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to be an Apache pilot. My point is, that would be cool. That would be kind of glamorous and cool, going to the range and blowing stuff up. But if you're going to be an Army aviator every day of the week, I want to do all kinds of missions.
That's right. You have one mission and
you have one mission and you're going to the range and back and the range and back. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to do air assault, the most complicated aviation mission there is. Air assault operations is the bedrock of utility. But yet, if the commander-in-chief comes to visit, he can get on the back of your helicopter and you can go fly him around. And, it's just amazing. Everything you can do. Resupply missions. Medevac. Right, everything. It just opened up so many possibilities. And so much search and rescue, everything. Sure. So I've loved it. It was great. It was a great decision. Yeah.
When did you got trained on the Iroquois, right?
The Huey. Yeah.
When did you get in your first Blackhawk?
Not until I was, let me fast forward the story.
Sorry.
No, because it answers your question. So I was active duty after flight school, I went to Fort Irwin, California. You know it. You know Fort Irwin.
NTC.
Yep, the NTC.
Now let me get this straight,
Yeah.
sir. You graduated West Point in 87.
Yes.
Okay. I misunderstood you. I thought you graduated high school in 87.
No. West Point in 87.
So now I'm back online. Okay.
West Point in 87. And then I went to flight school. So I'm done with flight school in 88, late 88.
Okay.
Because it was about a year and a half, from graduation.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm leaving Fort Rucker. So like an idiot, I finished pretty high in my class in flight school too, just because, I think these things matter. So I applied myself and I got to choose whatever I wanted to go. My first assignment. And you know what I chose as a dumb, uninformed young second lieutenant?
NTC?
I chose California.
Oh.
I chose California. I'm not exactly sure how that was a choice on my form because it wasn't always by bases. Like,
okay,
I was thinking Fort Ord. You remember Fort Ord?
Oh, Fort Ord, beautiful.
Yeah, they took it offline.
During BRAC.
Yeah, during BRAC, and so it's been gone for a long time. But when I had my choice, I was thinking, that's awesome.
Sure, up there by Monterey.
Yeah, Fort Ord. So I just said California, like an idiot. I had no idea when I got my thing back when I was getting ready to graduate.
Yeah.
It said Fort Irwin, California. I'm like, oh my God, where is that? And I looked on a map, because, I'm brand new to the Army. I don't know exactly where Fort Irwin is. And I looked at it in Barstow and I'm like, oh man, it's 20 miles north of Barstow in the middle of nothing.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, what have I done? Total unforced error.
Sure.
Totally unforced error.
I always picture these moments, and I want to flash to the assignments, and I'm like, look what this guy did, sucker!
I worked so hard for this. Actually, like most things in life, Marty, it was a blessing in disguise.
Again, you're gonna fly probably more.
I
than
flew
anywhere.
more as a lieutenant than most people will fly for the first 3 years of their lives.
Were you flying OPFOR?
Yeah, I flew OPFOR. My main mission was utility. So I was doing the GS stuff, the general support stuff, but we were starting to do air assaults for the Blue Force.
Oh, wow.
Big operations.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because there was there was JRTC, but it wasn't in its current iteration.
That's right. It was very different back then. Yeah. But NTC was where it was at. And so we did, not only was I flying all the VIPs around in battlefield and circulation stuff, which was cool because you could see everything and learn everything. Yeah. But we did these massive air assaults where, I even wrote articles for Aviation magazine because it was such a new concept at NTC. It was such a big thing for Blue Force, the good guys, to really use air assaults at the NTC. Sure. This is way before it was common stuff. And so it was really exciting. But the main thing is, here's a young pilot who comes out of flight school and flies his ass off. 50 hours a month of flight time.
Wow.
That's unheard of. Nobody does that now.
Yeah.
Nobody does. Pilots are lucky if they get 10 hours a month.
Sure.
I'm flying 50 hours a month every month for 2 years.
Yeah.
So believe me, as a young guy and, exploring your craft and your technical and tactical expertise, that paid dividends when I was a more senior officer as an aviator.
Yeah.
Because I really had the foundation, brownout landings every day, goggles, night vision goggles in the desert every day. Every night. So it made me a really better aviation leader.
So you're assigned to NTC in 88?
88.
Are you there when the Gulf War kicked?
So here's where I transitioned to the reserves because so if some of your listeners will remember, and you definitely remember the peace dividend, it's like 1990. So I've only been at NTC for a couple of years, just flying and doing my thing. And all of a sudden these MILPER messages, the PERSCOM sends out the messages of, hey, we're downsizing. Yeah. The Cold War's over. Yeah. Doesn't matter if you went to West Point, ROTC, blah, blah, blah. As long as you do 8 years in the reserves total time, you can get out. We won't even hold you to your service obligation from West Point.
Here's VSI. We'll pay you.
Yeah. But I didn't do any of that. I just said, hey, my friends started calling me. Hey, Chris, are you going to get out? They're shrinking the Army by like half. At first I wasn't, but then I started having children. I started having kids with my wife.
Makes a difference.
We met and we got married while I was at Fort Irwin. and she was a teacher in Victorville.
Oh, wow.
Down the street.
No kidding.
Yeah, it worked out fantastic.
Did you go to the diner out there? Did
Yeah,
you take
we
her
did.
out there?
I did. Yeah, yeah. Found a stray dog there, and
Is it Lucy's Diner? I can't remember. Because when we would railhead,
No, it wasn't.
the team who had to railhead at Barstow would go and eat at that diner.
No,
so.
it was like.
I can't remember what the name of that dang diner
Yeah,
is.
but it wasn't Lucy's. But yeah, it was a classic
Yeah.
50s diner.
Yeah, it was good.
I know exactly
It's the only
what you're
thing out
talking about. Yeah. So, but the story is, because the Cold War was over, Desert Storm wasn't even in the picture. I
No.
mean, it wasn't. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have got out. But at the time, it was like, hey, this looks like it's going to be boring. You know, I mean, I'm a warrior. I signed up to once in my life. You know, I want to go to the game. I want to put me in, coach. Right now, there's no game. You know, not perpetual practice on the field forever.
Yeah.
So that wasn't interesting to me.
Yeah.
So I actually got out. I had to join the reserves. I came to Denver.
So you
started
changed
business.
you got out.
I got out.
Oh, so you went from,
I got early out.
you changed, did you have to change your regular Army commission to a reserve commission, or was that do it
No, I mean
automatically?
it was like an automatic thing.
Oh,
When you
okay.
say I'm leaving the active duty service,
But you didn't resign your commission.
No,
Yeah.
no. Well, I don't know if you officially resign your commitment. I don't know exactly how that works.
I did.
Okay.
That was a mistake.
Okay,
You
because
did
then I
resign.
must not have. Yeah, clearly I must not have. So I was automatically placed in the IRR, which
Oh, yeah, sure.
which for your listeners
Sure.
means you don't really have to do anything. You're just on the rolls.
You are.
You don't earn retirement points. You don't get paid a dime, but you're still available
But
to
you
be
can be
called.
called back,
Yeah, of
yeah.
course. We brought some IRR soldiers with us when we went to Iraq, which I don't know if we'll get there, but anyway. So this was a major transition for me. I got out of the Army. I started business in Colorado.
Oh, no
I
kidding.
started growing my family, building roots right here in Parker,
Yeah.
actually, and I didn't look back. But here's what happened.
Yeah.
I started missing it, and then I knew that there was that guard unit at Buckley.
Oh, yeah.
There's an aviation battalion
That's
out
right.
there.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing these Hueys and now some Blackhawks flying, and there wasn't Chinooks at the time. It was still Cobras, OH-58s,
Yeah.
Hueys, and then they were bringing in some Blackhawks, and I'm like, you know what?
Why not?
I like aviation. I really enjoyed the Army, and I'll be a guardsman. I will join the Guard and build that camaraderie again and be part of that team. So I did.
I don't want to, before we go forward,
Yeah.
I don't want to lose that decision. You said it was a
Yeah.
huge decision, but you just talked me through
Mm-hmm.
Ranger School,
Mm-hmm.
all the things you had to go through to graduate,
Yeah.
your year-long aviation,
Mm-hmm.
competing all along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And you had 2 years out in the line?
No,
3
well,
years?
it was like 3.5 years
Okay.
of active duty service after graduation.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it
then all
wasn't
of a
even
sudden,
4 years.
I mean, but the DA helped a lot.
Oh yeah.
Right? They're like, hey, you can get out.
Yeah.
We need you
Yeah.
to get out.
And frankly, they wanted to shrink the Army by half. But the decision making for me was, this is going to probably get boring.
Sure.
That's really what it came down
And
to.
you're weighing your family.
Yeah.
And you're weighing
Yeah.
your children.
Yep.
Because
Because I wanted to be a warrior.
But you got to, you want to.
Totally.
But you can't quite figure out where the Army's going.
Right.
This will be another topic. I'd love to talk
Yeah.
with you on other
Oh
issues.
yeah,
but
we could go on many tangents.
because this is where maybe if you had a mentor who stepped in and said, look, I've been through a couple of these.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to get out at this point.
Yeah, maybe.
Sometimes that word of advice that I never got,
Yeah,
that most, I think, don't get,
it's a good point.
unfortunately.
a
But
good
we can
point.
talk about that later.
It's a great point.
Um,
But it is what it is, and it's where I am today because of it. So I'm really happy with it.
so you went to the Guard.
I went to the Guard,
Right.
Colorado.
Of course, they're
National
going to take a
Guard.
qualified pilot.
Yeah,
But then, who knows? Yeah, sometimes they're full.
Sometimes they're full. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very true statement. Yep. So it was interesting though, because it would talk about a culture shift. This was the old Guard.
What
This
year
was
was it?
the-
What year did
This
you get in
was
the Guard?
this was 91.
Okay.
It might have even been 92. Yeah, it was probably 92. By the time I did the 1 year IRR,
So you were out during
I was out.
Desert Storm?
I remember getting in my car
No
after
kidding.
a hard day at the office, turning on the radio, and I heard the same broadcast
Yeah,
you did.
yeah.
The bombs are flying above
Right.
Baghdad, and it's like, holy crap. That was really an interesting. I still remember
That must have
It
been
was-
interesting
it
to
was.
think about.
It
right?
was really interesting. It's like, such mixed feelings. Like, okay, my brothers are going to war. A lot of my classmates are going to war, and I'm missing it.
Yeah.
which is a bummer. And yet, by this time I've got 2 kids, maybe 3 kids.
Oh yeah.
And so,
It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So I'm, part of you is glad you're
But
missing
still,
the shooting.
there's that whole piece you've been prepping for.
Absolutely. That was my point of my whole direction in life, to being a warrior since I was a
Right.
17-year-old guy.
Right.
So yeah, mixed feelings. But nevertheless, it was happening. I missed it. But it turns out, as little providence here, Fort Irwin didn't deploy anyway. They were the schoolhouse.
You weren't
So I
gonna
wouldn't
go.
have gone. I wouldn't have gone
Right.
anyway.
Right.
Which eased the blow,
Yeah.
softened the blow a little bit for me.
I was in the 5th ID at Fort Polk,
Mm-hmm.
painted all our vehicles, getting ready to go. Had to train up our National Guard Roundup
Mhm.
Brigade before they let us
Yep.
go. 100-hour war.
Yep.
Stand down. You're not going.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
we were one of 2 stateside divisions that didn't go.
Right. Right.
And then for the next several years, don't you got your
Oh,
combat
yeah,
patch?
right,
Combat
yeah.
patch. I was like, oh, I don't have a combat
Right.
patch.
Right.
You know?
Yes, I fully understand.
So it was
that.
tough. But I know the riff because we went through it in 96, 97, 98.
Mhm. Yep.
I remember getting an email that said, if you don't get selected for in residence CGSC, your chances for promotion are 0.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Zero.
I don't think I'm at the top of the class, but
Yeah.
they didn't make it. They made it very clear.
Isn't it weird how things work out, though?
Yeah.
I mean, it just works out.
It's never a straight line. That's
It's
for sure.
never a straight line. Never.
So you're in the Guard. How did you?
So I'm now in the Guard.
But you're just one.
I'm a traditional Guardsman.
You started telling me this was the old Guard.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So first
This
of
is
all,
like the First Blood movie
Yeah.
Guard.
yes,
Right?
this is. I mean, they're okay. So let me back up a little bit. So I'm a traditional Guardsman. I am the 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer for annual training,
Right.
which is usually a big field problem, and not a lot more. Although aviators have to fly extra flight training periods because you got to stay proficient.
You got to meet the requirements.
Yeah, we have the same flight hours as active duty, so we have to actually.
Oh wow, do
yeah,
they really?
absolutely the same.
Jeez.
So we have to come in. I'm coming in after work, long day at the office. I come in to fly goggles, until 10:30 at night. So it does wear on you a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's good. It's all volunteer. I'm happy I did it. Anyway, so
First lieutenant by this time?
not quite. Well, yeah, I'm a first lieutenant now, and I get
Okay.
sent up to the unit. It's actually an assault company
Oh.
of old Hueys. This is the old MTO, the old table
yeah.
of allowances. 15 Hueys in my little company that I take charge of up there. I started as the XO, but the commander moved on quickly. And so I became the commander of this
As a
flight
lieutenant?
company as a first lieutenant, soon to be a captain.
All right. All right.
But it was 15 Hueys, which nowadays you talk to an aviation like company commander and go, 15 Hueys, man, that's 4 times what I got in my company.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just big MTOs. We had our own motor pool, our own
Right.
mess section, our own flight operations, everything. They were self-contained companies.
That's so they could pick you up.
Yeah, the
and-
whole
and
thing
throw
could
you out there if you
support
needed to.
aviation
Yeah.
operations. It's just not done that way anymore.
No.
Everything's in the battalion. And yeah, everything's in the battalion, actually, not the brigade. Except for the big maintenance is in the brigade.
Of course.
Anyway,
Of
so
course.
my point of this story was, so there was a culture clash. So I'm the young idealistic West Pointer coming in, aviator,
yeah.
coming in after some
Oh.
hard school of knocks at Fort Irwin,
Sure.
where every day's a war
Yeah.
except Christmas. And now I'm in the old guard, which is a lot of great Vietnam pilots, and I mean really good pilots.
Right.
I'd trust my family in the back of those helicopters at night in bad weather.
Yeah.
But they didn't understand how to run like real collective training programs. Like, how do you build?
They never needed to.
They never needed to.
Yeah.
And they weren't interested in it. So there was a little bit of head butting with this young. It's like a script from a movie, right?
Right.
The young
Right.
West Pointer comes in
Sure.
to kind of turn things around.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the drama the movie would promise. It was great.
No, but
they
there's
slowly turned.
Did
around.
you go inward and say, "Hey, look, I can't come at these guys
I'm not an
hardcore."
idiot. Yeah, I'm not
right?
an idiot.
But still, you got to learn a little finesse.
You do.
Right? You got to learn a
You
little
do.
people skills.
You do. But when you go through those experiences, like I think I successfully navigated this experience as a young, brand new captain or senior first lieutenant right there at the transition. And it builds you. It builds you to be
Sure.
the officer you are. I mean, of course, I'm not going to walk in there with my hands on my hips like the dorky lieutenant out of the movies. You know, that's not my style.
No.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
But I have credibility. I'm a pretty good aviator. You know, I've got a lot of flying under my belt. I know what right looks like. I know how it's supposed to be done.
Sure.
I just got to get these guys to see that vision, and they all understand what right is.
You got to get them to come along with
you. You got to get them to you got to get that buy-in. You identify your senior warrants who are the informal leaders anyway. You know the drill.
Yeah.
I mean, you finesse this thing and you do it right. And you know, within 6 months, that unit was humming.
No kidding.
And these old Vietnam guys were coming up to me, still some of the proudest time of my life, saying, Chris, or, you know, Lieutenant, or whatever, they used some Vietnamese term as a sign of respect, actually. And it escapes me, unfortunately. Anyway.
You were in an FNG, were you?
No. It was actually a term of endearment for a Vietnamese officer. And I really wish I could remember it because it would add to the story. But anyway, doesn't matter. But that's some of my nicest memories of things like that, where all these old warrant officers that were resistant in the beginning, all of a sudden 6, 9 months, a year later, they're like, Lieutenant, you are Captain Petty, you have really turned this unit around. I'm really proud to be in this unit, and you've made me feel more like a warrior now than when I was even in Vietnam. And, you know, the guys all know what right is.
Of course
they all know what right is. Right. But it takes the leader to build, you know, to fight the entropy, the natural entropy of the universe in every organization, and build that back up to a real training program, real challenging stuff.
Right.
Because everyone knows what they're supposed to do. So anyway.
Of course.
Anyway, that was my culture class.
That is like a movie ending.
Yeah, it was like a movie ending, and we didn't kill anybody. Because, you know, you're doing air assaults with Hueys at, you know, 11,000 feet in the snow, white out. I mean, it's like, I look back at some of this stuff and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so glad we didn't crash helicopters up there, you know, in the mountains, because it would have been so easy to do. But, you know, you always look at things differently when you're in it, when you're younger.
Yeah.
You know, we did risk management. We weren't stupid, but man, we were hanging it out there, single engine Hueys in the mountains, flying 12,000 feet. I mean, man.
I'd love to get your take on, name escapes me. What's the infamous operation in Afghanistan where the Chinooks were way too high? I mean, they were so high, right? Didn't they shoot one of them down?
You're talking about
that operation.
You talking about where all the SEALs got taken out?
Well, there's that
night?
one.
Okay,
but then I thought there was another one, but yeah, that one too. I mean, they were so high.
Yeah,
they couldn't get help to them. I know.
Oh, so you're talking about something different than I'm thinking of.
I don't remember.
You're talking about some LZ way up in the Hindu Kush kind of thing.
I think so.
Yeah,
it was early on in the war.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
But just that, you know, that we don't think about that.
Right.
The altitude's effect.
Right. Altitude affects helicopters, especially helicopters, because, you know, to maximize a helicopter on a battlefield, you're loading it down, whether it's troops or ammunition or supplies, you're loading that thing. Yeah. And when you load that thing, you're going to high altitudes, you lose a lot of lift capability, like, you know, geometrically. It sneaks up on you fast.
Really?
Yeah. It's dangerous, which is why Colorado, by the way, short aside, Colorado runs a high altitude training program for aviators throughout the world. Special operations guys. It's all run by the Colorado Guard because they're the best damn pilots in the mountains.
Smart.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So our guys really do know how to fly in the mountains, and it's paid huge dividends. Yeah.
My friend TJ Kirklands, who went to aviation school.
I know him.
You know TJ Kirklands?
Yeah. Yeah.
We were in ROTC together.
He was in the Colorado Guard for a while.
Oh, he was?
Yeah, he was.
No kidding.
Yeah.
It's a unique name.
Yeah, it's right. I know it's the same guy.
He would tell me hardest thing to do in aviation is to hover.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I first heard that from from TJ.
Yeah, he was up in Eagle for a while too.
Oh wow!
You tell him about me, and he'll remember. We were
all right.
Like we didn't serve together much, but there was a tiny overlap.
Well, there's not that
so we
many
know each
of
other.
you.
Yeah, but I was more senior.
Yeah, sure.
So like when he was a captain, I think I was becoming a lieutenant colonel, and you know we just didn't mix in the units. That's all. That's all I mean.
It's interesting, you know his name.
But I know him. Yeah, I haven't seen him for
20
years.
Either.
But yeah.
Oh, TJ.
Yeah.
I tell you what, can we do it? Can we do a part 2 to this? Because there's so much more I want to hear. Because I haven't heard any of you.
Yeah, you haven't even heard the war stories yet. Yes. Yeah, let's do part 2.
Because we're at 55 minutes now, so I can run it. Part 1 and 2.
Let's do part 2. That sounds good.
But let's find a good spot here.
Okay.
How
good spot to end it?
Did you go back into the regular Army?
Well, only through Title 10 mobilizations. So, technically it's active duty.
Yeah.
But I'm still coming in as a guardsman. Do you know that distinction?
I do. Yeah,
okay.
I do.
Your listeners maybe be confused, but
it's who pays the check.
Yeah, it's who pays the check.
Really?
So, to keep it really easy, I like to say I started on active duty. I was a reservist for a year. I was in the Guard as a traditional guardsman for 7 years.
Oh, okay.
Then I got hired as a full-time guardsman, AGR.
Oh, all right.
So I was a full-time guardsman for years.
Yeah.
Then I got pulled into the active duty force, Title 10, as a general officer, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
We'll talk about later. Yeah.
7 years in the Guard.
So I started on active duty. I ended on active duty, and I got everything in between. Kind of a neat,
we got so much
kind of a
more
neat
to go
career,
through.
actually. I don't know if
That's
that
really
changed
cool.
a thing. It was awesome.
On behalf of General Petty, I'd like to thank you for listening today. I hope you enjoyed the show, and if you did, please leave a like and a comment and share the podcast with someone else. And as always, make sure to download the next episode for more service origin stories. So until next time, Tange! Hoo! Fallout!